Hey folks, Tito Thitoff here with the Blue Jackets Blitz. Follow me on Twitter @TitHappens. Go download the free app we offer for Fantasy Sports powered by DSP Media. Apple and Android users, absolutely free. Go check that out. Get round-the-clock programming wherever you take your mobile device with you. And then also go to the new website, newly designed, fanstreamsports.com. And we've got great content on there, both written and also audio there. All kinds of, like I say, new stuff we are adding all the time. All right, Jackets open up in Nashville. And it's been 25 years, well, it was 25 years on October 7th, since the Columbus Blue Jackets dropped the puck for their first time in a regular season game. I remember the night vividly. I was working evenings at the Columbus Dispatch in the sports department on the agate and production side. You wouldn't know what agate was probably, but just understand I was kind of a grunt that was in there, taking box scores, formatting stuff for pages as far as standings and things like that, high school sports, college sports, all of that, also professional sports. Anyway, it was a department full of copy editors, page designers, and then part-time sports clerks. This is back when newspapers really mattered. And prior to Columbus securing an NHL team, hockey was rarely discussed at the Dispatch in the sports department. It was like the sports department was like a non-alcoholic sports bar. At least I think it was non-alcoholic most of the times. Anyway, with discussions, people bitching, arguing, defending their teams, and more importantly, just defending your sports takes. So that's what it was like back then. Like I say, hockey was not a big deal. It was, we had Ohio professional teams in Cleveland, Cincinnati. We had a minor league baseball team in Columbus, NBA in Cleveland. There was no professional hockey team at that point, and so hockey was not discussed that much. And I didn't know what to expect with the NHL in Columbus. My exposure to hockey at that point was the NHL game by EA Sports on Sega Genesis. Of course, when I play it, I'd take off the line changes. I disable offsides because it's a stupid rule in the video game world. And I try to make Gretzky's head bleed. I knew the names of the teams. I knew who the fastest skaters were. And I knew who the best goalies were. But that was the extent of my knowledge right there. So that debut game with the Chicago Blackhawks at Nationwide Arena started back on October 7th and in 2000. And there were many of us huddled around a mounted 19-inch pre-HD TV, and we soaked up the moment. Before the midway point of the first period, the Jackets had a 3-0 lead. It was amazing. And I went from being a passive watcher to being an arrogant fan all of a sudden. I made smart-ass comments like, this game is too easy, and the NHL was afraid to put a team here because they knew we'd dominate. Then the Blackhawks scored 5 straight goals, won 5-3. The Jackets were either born or initiated into the NHL, whatever you want to believe. The season since then have provided plenty of missteps when it comes to being competitive on the ice. They've had poor coaching choices, poor draft choices, poor trades, and really a lot of seasons where they just flat out weren't competitive. Now that pales in comparison on the ice. On the ice, it was bad. Now off the ice, there were some tragedies both at and away from the arena. There was the death of Brittany Cecil, a 13-year-old girl who was struck by a puck in the stands back in 2002, which led to what you see, the netting now going higher and all the way around the arena. That was part of that. There was the away from the arena. Matisse Kivlenieks died in a fireworks accident in 2021. He was an up-and-coming goalie in the Jackets organization. And then last year, Johnny Gaudreau, and his brother were killed by an alleged drunk driver. Again, that was back in 2024. All those things happened both at the arena with Brittany, and then outside of the arena with the fireworks accident, and then also the situation with Johnny Gaudreau and his brother. They've made the playoffs just 6 times, but last season, when it appeared to be lost, with the death of Gaudreau, it seemed like to be a lost season for the Columbus Blue Jackets. They somehow rallied, and they stayed in the postseason race until the end. They became a feel-good story around the NHL, and there were people that might not have normally rooted for the Blue Jackets suddenly rooting for the Blue Jackets. They were in it right until the end. Surprisingly, young team, new coach, new GM, and the history of the Jackets with their success or lack thereof, everything was against them last year. They had a great start, slow middle, and then a great end that put them in contention all the way to the end. Now, coming into this year now, they've got a young, talented core returning, outstanding quality depth up the middle. And for the first time in a long time, there are postseason expectations for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Not dreams, not hopes, expectations. 21-year-old Adam Fantilli scored 31 goals last season, tying for the team high with 25-year-old Kirill Marchenko. Zach Werenski had a team-high 59 assists and scored 82 points. Marchenko was second in both those categories with 43 assists and 74 points. This season will provide plenty of offensive firepower. There's no doubt about that. But the success will be determined by what happens when the opposition has the puck. Goalie Elvis Merzlikins has struggled and been overpaid for the last several years. Up and down. He is a typical goalie from the standpoint of he's inconsistent. He's not an elite goalie. He's got elite talent, but he just doesn't always bring it, it feels like. And he hasn't really been challenged by anybody. He signed a big contract 3 years ago, 5 years, so he's got 2 years left on the deal, where he's getting paid like north of $5 million a year is what it is. But he's being challenged now by 24-year-old Jet Greaves. Jet Greaves last year won 7 of his last 8 starts with the Jackets in 2024-2025, allowed more than 2 goals just once in that span, and he was named the opening night starter in Nashville. So they have confidence in him. I don't know what's happened to Elvis. There's been talk about trading him, there was talk about buying him out last year. None of that happened. So we'll see what happens to Elvis as the season goes on, but he's certainly being challenged this year for the first time by a credible goalie who's proven himself. President GM Don Waddell, head coach Dean Evison have done a fantastic job building this team. You heard me on my last Blue Jackets Blitz talk to Aaron Portzline, longtime writer, reporter of the Columbus Blue Jackets, who worked for the Dispatch from before the Jackets even hit the ice the first time, and all the way through now with the Athletic. He's been there for a while as well. And Porty said it's got a different vibe this year. You can't take last year and compare. You can't compare this year's preseason and camp to last year's because of what happened with Johnny Gaudreau. It was a much different thing. But just looking back on the other years, because Porty's been around for all of these, and he just said this year's got a different vibe to it. There's more of a maturity. There's more of an expectation, and guys are pushing each other. It's a different vibe this year. The fan support in Columbus never wavers. The Jackets do such a tremendous job with in-game experiences, so much that even in the many lean years, the building is at near capacity most nights. It's shaping up to be an epic year for Blue Jackets and the fans the fans deserve it. The fans have stood by this team, and they deserve they've won 1 playoff series in the entire time they've been in the NHL. The Jackets fans deserve better than that, and I think they will get that. The only potential hiccup will be if they bring Boomer back. And if you know who Boomer is, you know exactly why I'm saying it'll be bad if they bring Boomer back. That's it for this edition of Blue Jackets Blitz. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Tito, Jeff Thitoff. Follow me on the X @ThitHappens. Download the free FanStream Sports app for Apple and Android users. We're powered by DSP Media. Go to the website, FanStreamSports.com. We'll be talking Blue Jackets all year long, folks. Let's buckle up. It's going to be a fun season.